Hey guys, what's up? It's Monday and it's my day off. Just got done with a bunch of festival stuff this weekend, but that doesn't mean the work stops. Today I have more things to do and I figured I'd bring you along building this little rack that I'm gonna put together for my lighting node. Now my goal with this is actually to put my MA3 node and a couple of DMX splitters into a rack and basically create an all-in-one lighting node solution that can be portable, that I can take with me when I want to go and run Kevin's rig with Cahill, or when I just want to, go patch into a lighting rig somewhere, as I am growing as an LD, I guess now. So I also have a rental coming up for my node, so that'll be super cool to be able to actually rent that out. And I want to put together a nice little rack for Zach, who's going to be using my node out on tour, and I just want to make sure he's got everything he needs, and if I have any future rentals, that the package that I'm providing is complete and useful for the person using it. So my idea is we're going to put this MA3 onPC node and two of these. I only have one right now. I'm going to be getting a second one in the mail at some point, so I'm going to have to wait for the second one. But we're going to put two of these in there with the node, because this has two universes or two outputs. So I want to make sure that there are two splitters, plenty of outputs for the different sections of lighting that people are going to run into. So we're going to have both universes available with many outputs on each. I'm also going to put a switch in this rack. We're just going to stick one of these in here. I know I could do a rack mount switch, but I'm just going to put one of these little TP-Link switches in there. The switch is going to give me a couple of more outputs, not only networking to this and the outside world, but also you can use streaming ACN or ArtNet as well, so that way, everything is all in one little rack. You can connect one shielded EtherCon cable. We're gonna put some jacks in this little panel. You're gonna connect one data in, and it's gonna network with the node and the switch and anything connected to the switch. So that's my idea. I'm hoping that I'm gonna cover all the bases. If you're an LD out there or just an engineer of any kind, I love the feedback. I love the ideas that people give me in the comments. So I'm kind of making it up as I go myself, and I like to share my ideas with other people. So this is kind of my first attempt at building a little lighting node rack. So the rack I chose for this was one of these Gator shallow racks. It's a 4-unit. I have a 3-unit as well for my distro, and I also use that for my stage box, but I wanted 4 because of all of the things I want to put in this. I want to make sure I have a space for the node, 2 spaces for the 2 data streams, and then the one at the bottom for all the inputs and outputs for this rack panel that we're going to build. I'm going to be mounting the switch on top of one of these data streams with double-sided tape, and I'm going to use this hole right here that is like the space behind this blank rack panel. That way I can fit everything in. I don't need to take up a whole additional rack space for the switch. And then we're just going to jump the cables down to these ports down here, and that's going to take care of getting our switch in this rack with taking up as little space as possible. So let's throw some screws in the MA port. So the second data stream will go here, and then I think this guy, I might switch this out for a trip light. This is just some cheap Amazon thing. I actually flipped the ears around because I want the outlets on the inside, but then that makes the switch on the inside. So this is, I think, temporary. I'm probably gonna switch this out with a trip light, but this is gonna actually get soldered or pinned into this power con, and that way this rack has an external locking connector, and I don't have to coil up like a 6-foot Edison cable inside this thing. That always frustrates me when I'm dealing with like wireless racks that people put together. I don't like a big cord just coiled up and you have to like get everything untangled. It's just a little frustrating to me. So I'm gonna hardwire this to this power con, and then we're gonna include like a nice short 6-foot or so power con to Edison jumper, and it's just gonna live in the lid. This is sort of the mock-up. I'm actually gonna take this stuff out so I can mount the switch on the data stream, mock it up outside the rack so I can, you know, get all the cables and stuff. We also have to install the ports on this guy. So let's move forward. Right, so we have these network plugs. These are gonna go in our rack panel that I'm gonna build. These are shielded RJ45 pass-throughs. And I'm going with shielded because I know a lot of people like shielded connectors, and that way everything is grounded and we don't have any static issues with hooking everything together. So this is EtherCon compatible, so that way it's not just the switch coming out of the front panel. We actually have a full EtherCon jack, and then in the inside of this I'm going to use these grounded shielded jumpers to go back and forth from the switch, so everything is nice and shielded. I also 3D printed these little guys, the little labels here. And unfortunately, the sides are a little too close together to go next to each other. But I think I'll just space them out for now. I'll have some empty spots. Maybe in the future I'll switch this panel out with like 8 holes or something instead of, I think this is like a 16. This is a 16 hole panel. I think maybe if I switch this out for like a 8 or 12, then these will be spaced out in a way where I can fit these together next to each other. But we'll just space them out for now and get it all together and working, and then I can just kind of modify, upgrade the rack as needed. This is nice. These actually come with screws. Alright, so I have the little rack panel all done up. We have it powered, locked into this little power strip. Like I said, I'm probably gonna end up switching that to a trip light or just something with outlets on both sides, because that way I can give my engineer or whoever's renting this out, or just myself, I can have some external Edison outlets, because the goal was to have internal outlets and have it all wired on the inside. So this will probably get changed. This will probably get changed for something with less holes in it, or whatever the case is. Unfortunately, it's not going to be the final form when I put this together today, but I think you get the idea. I think you get what I'm going for here. And once again, if anybody has any ideas, suggestions, I love seeing all the cool Instagram builds that people do with these racks and all the crazy in-ear monitor builds and stuff. That's so fun for me to look at because I love building stuff. So this is sort of like my small attempt at building a little custom rack for purpose, and I'm having fun with it so far. Let's get this thing put together and cabled up with all the stuff I have so far, and we can see what it looks like. have this nice IEC split here, so that way I don't have to plug in a million separate Edison cords. I think what I'd like to do actually is cut one of these ends off and replace it with the True 1 connector that the MA node uses, and that way I can plug one thing in and then everything plugs in the two data streams and the node all gets powered off of this one splitter. I like that it uses a hex driver instead of Phillips. That's really nice. I wish these weren't as expensive as they are. I'd like to use them more often. The downside is that all of my lighting, because it's sheds and other Chinese fixtures, is all PowerCon. So I don't really want to start switching to True 1 because 90% of my gear is already PowerCon and not True 1. There we go, check it out. We now have a multi IEC and one True 1 for the MA node. That way I can plug one thing in and it powers all of the devices in the rack. I'm gonna plug this in right away. So that has power. This is the downside to building such a compact little rack, is that it's going to be kind of hard to finagle all the connectors and things inside. I love that these little gator cases actually come with a bunch of rack screws. It's kind of uncommon. Sometimes you buy racks and they just don't come with any hardware, and then you gotta buy hardware separately, which is a little inconvenient. Not the worst, but it is nice that they include a whole bunch of screws to mount all your stuff, so you can kind of just get to work right away. I am gonna mount this up at the top because this is where it's gonna live, and we're gonna put the second data stream right below it when I get it. So let's just get this in here. I like that. All of these are gonna come up to here. Hopefully they all reach. I only bought 1-foot jumpers, so these are a little tight. Actually, I'm gonna put them down here because then it's out of the way of my IEC cable. A little tight, but it made it. This is looking good, guys. Really digging this. With that in it. I think I'll buy some 5-pin jumpers for this eventually, but currently I only have 3-pin DMX, so we will just have to live with that. And maybe I can be super cool and get some right angle ones too, if they even make 5-pin right angle. Right, DMX is good. All right, the last thing I have to add is my power to get power to my devices. I think eventually I'm gonna want to secure this in here a little better instead of having this stuff kind of flop around on the inside of this rack. But I'm learning as I go. So at whatever point that is, I will get that sorted out. So then these are my there we go, and then I have one more IEC for the other data stream when I get that. I think the last thing I want to do is just put a panel in the back here, a couple panels, and just kind of block it off. All right, there we go. I think in the future, once I replace this with a trip light, I won't have this cord going through here, so I'll replace this with a 3-unit version. That way we get some ventilation, and then we can see what's going on back here, like with our switch, making sure that the data is happening if that's something you need to troubleshoot. But I think I'll replace this with a 3U. This is gonna become a trip light. And then once I get my third data stream, or not my third data stream, my second data stream, that'll go right here. We're gonna replace these cables with some 5 pins just to make it cleaner. That way it's, you know, MA is gonna go 5 pin to 5 pin, and then you have all your outputs that you need for Universe 1 and Universe 2. We have our locking power in and out. That way I don't have to pull out some sort of like 10-foot long cable or something and have to tuck it all back in here and have it just be, you know, a mess. I don't really enjoy doing that, like I said before. So I think this is gonna be maybe become, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can probably switch this for an 8-hole or a 12-hole unit, and that way I can nest these together and not have so many empty holes. But I guess really at the end of the day it doesn't matter too much. I unfortunately don't have one of my nice heavy-duty power cons for this, but this will do the trick. And we have power. Our switch does appear to have power. Our MA node is talking with the switch, which is great. All right, friends, I hope you enjoyed my little node rack build today. I know this isn't in its final form and it's not perfect, but hopefully you get the idea of what I'm going for. Hopefully you got something out of this video. I do really appreciate the likes, the comments, and the subs from everybody. I hope to keep bringing more content like this and just more gig vlogs to you guys as I have time. Summer's busy. This was definitely a nice relaxing way to spend my Monday. If you have any suggestions, once again, I'm always down to chat in the comments. I love ideas. I love, you know, people giving me suggestions on what I could do differently, and I'm always learning too. I'm always trying to learn. I'm always trying to improve and just have fun with the AV business and doing gigs and building stuff. I like that I can combine lots of my interests together into a career, so this is just super fun for me. Anyways, I'll let you guys go. Thanks for watching, appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one. Oh, sorry to interrupt the end of the video. I just wanted to film this last little bit for you guys a couple weeks later. This is what the node turned out to be, and I figured I would sneak a little clip here in the end of this video to show you the final product. And once again, I did end up changing the back out for a trip light. So I have Edison power on the outside. I just added this panel here to cover everything up really nice. I got my right angle connectors. Couldn't find any 5-pin ones. Maybe I'll keep searching down the line. If you got a link for those, drop it in the comments. That would be cool. And I did have to move some of these connectors over to get this out of the way so that these are, are clear to plug things in. But this is what it turned out to be for now. I still may change this panel, but we'll see. I'm lazy. I probably won't, let's be honest. But this guy's been working awesome. I have had a couple shows with it. It's been super handy to have 2 universes and tons of outputs for each universe and power and everything all in one box, and it's just been really cool. This is going out on a rental in a couple of weeks, so I'm excited to put this thing to work even more. But hope you enjoyed. Once again, I'll see you guys in the next one.